Okay, so today I'm going to make a video about prostitution, just some of the pros and cons as far as making it illegal, keeping it illegal versus legalization, and then I'll sort of jump in with some of my own personal thoughts. I guess my main, or one of the problems I should say, that I have with prostitution being illegal is that it seems to give the government a lot of power, and I cannot help but think the way our society is set up, I can't help but think that prostitution being illegal is not about trying to protect women or even about trying to really eliminate prostitution. I think it's more about trying to control women, and I'm against that. Let's face it, I mean, men are the ones that make laws, and men are the ones, for the most part, who are the whole reason that the sex industry exists. I'm sure that there are some women that go to prostitutes, but not very many. I don't think that you would have much of any kind of a sex, selling industry if not for men. And so, I don't know. A lot of people will argue that prostitution should be illegal because, it often exploits women who are very impoverished or stupid, or, young girls that just get caught in a bad situation and don't know any better, and then before they know it, they're just caught up in a trap. I don't think that making prostitution illegal, and therefore, we know it's not going to eliminate all prostitution. It's just going to drive it underground, and I think that the abuses of women that occur in underground prostitution are much worse than would exist if it were legalized, and if our society respected women more in general, not just prostitutes, but, women in general. I really resent the demonization of prostitutes in our culture. It's sort of a boys will be boys thing, wink wink, not a big deal if they want to hire a stripper for their bachelor party, or, go to a prostitute or whatever. It's not such a big source of shame the way it would be if a woman said, I used to be a prostitute. And it should be. If anything, if anyone should be demonized in the whole prostitute equation, to me it should be men who subsidize the whole industry and are the whole reason for existing. Not, the women themselves who are trying to meet some economic need, either out of desire to not do anything else, or convenience, or whatever the reason may be. And so I really would support a system like they have in Sweden, where prostitution is legal. It's legal to be a prostitute, but it's not legal to be a pimp, and it's not legal to go to a prostitute. Obviously, it happens, or the prostitutes won't exist, but I think that women really need to be given all the power in that scenario, because there are so many predatory forces out there working against her. I think she needs all the help that she can get just to keep her head above water, to not be beaten up, to not be exploited by anyone, to not be raped or killed. I just think that women, should be allowed to have control over their own bodies. And you could argue, that men who go to a prostitute aren't doing anything wrong, but I certainly think that if a man goes to a prostitute that he knows is being exploited by her pimp, for example, or he knows that she's not there of her own volition, or that she's probably not there of her own volition, me personally, I would care. I would want to find out. Like, I just cannot imagine being able to enjoy a sexual encounter with another human being where, I don't know if they're there because they want to be. That would just really, really bother me. And I don't know, anybody that would go to a child prostitute, in my opinion, is the scum of the earth. I mean, it's not any better than going out and molesting a child. It's just so wrong. And I don't know. I guess my main point is that while I don't particularly like prostitution, I don't think that making it illegal is any kind of solution to any of the abuses that go on within it. So, if we could just get the whole legalization argument out of the way, and then maybe we could really start getting to meaningful issues of why law enforcement doesn't do more to combat the trafficking and sex slaves. I just think that really should be the main focus of law enforcement when it comes to prostitution, is to making sure that no one is raped or beaten or killed or economically exploited. And our current system of just, well, everybody is a criminal, is just not effective in addressing any of the root causes or any of the negative effects that occur from it. So I guess that makes me a sex positive feminist. I don't know. I was talking to emailing back and forth with a YouTube viewer who was talking about how she didn't like the whole sex-positive feminists versus feminists who are against prostitution and pornography and all that, because her perspective is that women should try and stick together, that we have enough on our plate without having, infights with one another. And I really do agree with that. I don't know. I just think the idea that you can outlaw prostitution and it's really going to be effective in preventing prostitution or preventing any of the harms caused by prostitution, I just think that is a really, really naive and simplistic view, and I don't have a lot of respect for it. I mean, prostitution's been illegal in the United States for the most part for hundreds of years, and it hasn't gone anywhere. So I have to really question the effectiveness of the laws. I mean, not only has it not gone anywhere, I would argue that it's not really become more prevalent, but I do think in some instances it's become more mainstreamed, and You know, like I said, obviously the law didn't prevent that from happening, so I don't see how anybody could really think that it's an effective tool in combating prostitution, even if you want to view prostitution as a problem. You know, prostitution, period, not just, you know, women being prostituted against their will, or being forced to do that because of whatever economic circumstances she happens to find herself in. I don't know. I was reading a book about sex trafficking in Eastern Europe, and it talked about this demonstration that women had in this one town that was having a lot of problems with prostitution, and basically, you know, the women were saying, you know, not for sale at any price, and how realistic is that? I mean, really, how many people out there would choose to watch their child starve to death before they would, you know, have sex with a stranger in order to get money to feed that child? I mean, there's so much, I don't know, there's so much immorality in society that's so much more blatant and so much more obvious than any harm that is innate, I guess, to prostitution. So, I don't know. I just thought that was attacking prostitution from the wrong perspective. Like, I don't think the solution to the whole problem is to convince women that they're better off starving themselves to death. And that's how, you know, what they have to do, rather than become prostitutes. You know, if we could get rid of this idea in men that women are just commodities to be bought and sold, or to be owned in marriage, for that matter, I think that is the problem that's driving the whole industry, and I don't see that making it illegal is doing anything to address that. It's just taking the argument off the table, and I don't think that that's productive. You know, it would be one thing if it wasn't important, if people's lives weren't at stake every day, but you know, you have women that are very vulnerable in a very vulnerable profession, and I think that they deserve all the support that law enforcement could give them to stay safe, not to lock them up and victimize them further. Make it that much harder for them to earn a job, you know, out in the blue-collar or white-collar world. I mean, and that's what really makes me think that the whole move to make prostitution illegal doesn't have anything to do with trying to protect women and girls. I think it's all about control, and the fact that society doesn't want women and girls to have control over their own bodies or be able to make their own decisions about their sexuality, and I disagree with that. So even though I don't like prostitution, and I really don't like prostitution, and even though I can't imagine doing it myself, except under the most desperate circumstances, I do think that it's important that women should be given a choice. And I think that would be better off, you know, would make society better off versus, you know, let's just make it illegal and criminalize these people and marginalize these people and pretend like they don't exist. That hasn't worked and will continue to fail as a policy, I think. So I really hope that society changes and that laws change for the better. So thank you for watching.